do not fret. If it happens that you have to get in your vehicle, you'll make it. You know, I do very well living in mine. It's not every day isn't rainbows, but for the most part, it's pretty darn cool, okay? My children got together and bought me a really nice 2-day stay in a hotel. Oh my gosh. Thank you, children. I have the best children in the world, yes. This is from TL. She says, I've met a few people living in their vehicles that are absolutely miserable. So have I, TL. Until they met me. Can you believe she said that? I love it. Until they met me. They have to live this way. I tell them that I sold my home to live this way. I give them hints and ideas to make it easier on them. The next time I see them, they're doing a lot better with it. I've been out here for almost 6 years and I still love it. Yay, TL. Thank you for helping other people. You know, it's going to come to the point where we're all going to have to help each other because so many of us are going to end up out here. You might think, no, I would never do that. I'm never going to end up out here. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of you are. And I'm also going to tell you why it might be a really good idea. If you're renting, I'm just going to let you know that as long as you can do it physically, and I really say that a lot of people that think they can't do it physically, they really can. If you end up in your vehicle, I hope it's a minivan, I really do, or a larger vehicle. So you might want to look for one now and kind of think ahead a little bit because there are going to be a lot of you in the coming couple years that are going to end up in their vehicles because they're not going to be able to afford rent anymore, or they're not going to be able to afford their mortgages. Now, I did see that what they're going to do is the current administration, and if that current administration also wins the next election, that they want to tax projected profits from mortgages. I know I'm not saying that right, so forgive me for that, because I don't know the exact terminology, but basically what they want to do is if your home increases in value, which is going to because prices are going up, you're going to have to pay taxes on that. Can you believe that? Yeah, projected profits from anything, including your mortgage. I know. Sorry about that. They want to tax that, and they're going to probably tax it every year on your income tax. So if you find, I hope this doesn't happen. You know what, and you know what I'm saying. I hope that you will be ready if that does happen. Indeed, I hope that you're ready for it. So how can you not be miserable out here? Because I see a lot of them too. They're miserable. They have way too much in their vans. They're stuck out here. They're miserable. They didn't want to do it. And I feel really bad for them because who wants to do something that you have to do? And you might be going through a grieving process. And that might be nothing more than just a grieving process. But to learn how to change your attitude towards being in a van and living in your vehicle, and if you can do that switcheroo and change your attitude towards it, oh my gosh, I have a hair in my mouth. You want some tea? Let's have some tea. I know I'm up, yeah. I'm so thrilled to be here. I've really needed this. about 3 days ago, I felt like I got a case of vertigo, but I don't think so. I don't think it turned out to be sort of vertigo, but this is a funny video. I'm not even going to edit this out. This is real life, right? If we were sitting in your kitchen, I might be doing that. Oh, yeah, there's a hair in my mouth. Okay, so yeah, I didn't feel well for a couple days. I was a little under the weather. And I do believe that it came from, I bought some imported cheese from, where did I get it? I got this one at Fry's. This isn't the imported cheese I talked about in last video. That Irish cheese that I got at Walmart, but this was different. I think it was too strong for me. I don't know. But it literally flipped my stomach upside down. And it actually, like, well, I don't know if there's some bacteria in there. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons my kids kind of pulled together and got me a hotel room. So, but I'll tell you what, it was a little miserable inside my minivan. So it's not all rainbows and unicorns all the time. And I want to mention that it almost felt like, for me, it almost felt like I was sort of in prison, because I didn't want to get out of my van. I looked like crap. I was trying to like just rest. And I normally don't throw up, but it felt like I was going to. And so I knew something was really up. But I just felt like I was in prison. I don't know why. So everything isn't all hunky-dory all the time, but the pros and the cons, the pros outweigh the cons on living in your vehicle. They really, really do. And I've talked about so much of that over the course of the pros and the good points. And you get to move and you got the freedom. Basically, it's freedom. But you do have to get in your van and you have to organize it. You can't just live with just bags and bags of stuff that you don't need. Okay, so there's one of the, probably TL, that's one of the things that she tells the people that she meets, is you have to organize things up. Otherwise, you are going to be miserable. Who wants to just sit in their front seat all the time? I know a lot of nomads that do that. They just sit in the front seat. They're on their phone all day, and then when they sleep back and they put their thing back and put their feet up. I hope they put their feet up, because you can get embolisms if you just leave your feet down all the time. Yeah. No, I wouldn't want to live that way. No. So I feel like I'm sort of the same as TL. That if you need to do this lifestyle and you're forced to do it, and hopefully you've watched my videos, that you're going to learn something from it. And that's what I try to do, because so many of you think, like, I'll say it again, you think that, oh, I would never end up in my vehicle. Well, there's a lot of people that are ending up in their vehicles because they can't afford rent anymore. They're senior citizens. Money isn't stretching anymore. Prices have gone sky high. We all know it. Won't elaborate on that. But yeah, if you are just going to spend all of your money on rent, that's scary. Yeah. And I know somebody say, oh, I get the vouchers, and oh, I have these vouchers for food and everything, and I have low rent and everything. I'm so happy for you, but that isn't happening for the rest of us. It really isn't. And a lot of you, oh, I've got my pension, and you guys just didn't prepare for your senior citizen days. You didn't prepare. We have all this. Well, guess what? Digital currency is coming. And I just saw a short that said, you really do need to get your money out of the bank, because if you have more than a certain amount, and they didn't give the amount, but they said there'll become a time when you have more than what that they're going to turn into digital, you're going to lose that money. So I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it's marching forward. And when I mention it, people say, oh, that's going to be in the far future. I don't know. I mean, it could or it couldn't, so I would say that I'm talking to everybody on this. I really am talking to everybody. I want to tell one of my stories. Okay, I really do. I may have told this before, but I have a lot of new viewers and you may have forgot. I have 2 or 3 stories, scary stories. I mean, tragic stories of people I know and relatives that were fatally harmed living in an apartment situation because of the neighbors. Okay, but I'm going to tell this one. Okay, so in Tucson, this was months before I became a nomad, probably about 6-8 months before. Well, my daughter and I, we both had the same landlord, the couple. They were very responsible. They were really responsible people. So we thought. I lived there for 15 years. My daughter lived there for 14 years. And we had a great relationship. Well, my son-in-law got transferred and he went to Ohio, which is weird because I was born and raised in Ohio. So that was really weird. My daughter did not want to go. I mean, she was born and raised in Arizona. She's an Arizonan. And we all love Tucson, right? Well, she went. Of course she had to go. And so the place that was beside me that she lived in was now empty. And my landlords wanted to renovate it. It was a historical house. And they hadn't really rented, and that's why we had lower rent. But they wanted to start renovating, so they wanted to renovate that one first. Well, they hired this one guy who actually was a huge property owner. I had met him before. When my roof really leaked, he came and he worked on it because he knew how to work on historical homes. And he was pretty nice. He seemed nice, but he was a property owner himself, okay? So he wasn't just some run-of-the-mill. You know, he had a great income. He had many properties around the city. But he did enjoy doing this as an extra way to make some extra money. Well, what happened was when he started to renovate it, he turned off the gas. Well, there were 2 gas meters, mine and one from the other place beside me. Well, he turned off one, thinking that was the one that my daughter lived in. Well, it wasn't, because he was probably going to unhook the stove and everything, and the heater, the water heater, take it out. They were probably going to replace it. Well, he realized, whoops, that wasn't the right one. So what did he do? He turned mine back on and turned the other one off. Well, guess what? My pilots all went out. This was around the end of April, the beginning of May, which means I remember that point, it had just turned hot. You know, Tucson has a great spring, but I'll tell you, once the heat hits hard, and it's hot out. Well, I did not know this. He did not come to tell me. This was a serious matter. What happened was within like 4 days, I was really feeling sick. Well, the first day probably I was starting to feel sick because I didn't use my stove because I was sick. I wasn't cooking anything. I was sick. Probably if I made tea, I put my cup and I put it in the microwave, okay? And which I found out that's really bad to do. So you don't have to tell me, oh, don't ever put your water in the microwave. I know it kills the water. Yeah, so you don't have to tell me it does kill the water and it's not good for you. But anyways, that's probably what I did if I wanted tea or made coffee or whatever. But I was sick. And so I wasn't using my stove, and I can't even explain why I didn't. Obviously, I just never used my stove. I didn't realize the pilots were out. And I didn't want to take a hot bath. If I was going to take a bath or a shower, I wanted a lukewarm one, a cooler one. That's what you do in Tucson in the summer. You don't be taking hot showers, right? Well, I was sick. I really was sick. What's happening was I was getting gassed. I really was. I would wake up, I don't know what day it was, but I'm going to guess. It was maybe like the 4th, 5th day that I was being gassed, especially at night. I'm in there. I woke up like in the middle of the night and I had the worst stomach cramps. I mean, the worst. And I had to go sit on the toilet just to see if I could. There was, I mean, this is weird to describe this, but just to let you know, I mean, if I would have went to a doctor, he would have asked me, what did your BM? How was that? Because that's health-wise. And my family were nurses, and I've worked in the health field. So yeah, it was the weirdest BM in my entire life. They looked like they were round, but they had things that were coming out of them. I mean, I'm serious. It looked like a cell or a virus or something. They were probably about that big, and they had these like things that were coming out of it. I thought, oh my God. I thought, am I dying? I was so sick. Well, let's fast forward. I was sick. Fast forward. I had to call in. I had clients, and I had to let them know there's something wrong. I'll let you know as soon as I feel better, right? I was laying during the day, and I was laying, and there was that voice. I know it was the angels trying to get me out of there. It was a voice said, "Get out of the house." I'm not kidding. And I thought, what? I don't feel well. It wasn't like this voice that you hear, but the voice inside of me said, "Get out of the house now. Leave the house now." I'm not kidding. So I thought, okay. I got out, and I thought, well, let me drive. I got to get out and walk around a little bit. And so what I did was I drove to the mall. And I was walking around the mall. I thought, well, let me walk around the mall. Let me see if I can kind of get over this. I got to move around my body. Well, I did. I felt so much better. Oh my gosh, I did. I felt better. Well, there was at one point that I must have tried to use a stove, and it didn't turn on. I tried to use my heater, and it didn't turn on. And so it was just by chance that guy was working next door, and my landlady was there. They were over there chit-chatting. This was around like 4:35. I think it was on a Friday. So they were going to be finished with what they were doing for the private, and then take the weekend off. Well, I said, something's wrong. I mean, I said, I've been so sick, but my pilots are off. And she goes, oh, and he came to turn it on, and he couldn't even figure out how to turn it on. I don't know why. He called somebody, and they came and turned it on. And I looked at him, I said, why are my pilots off, and how long have they been off? Because I've been so sick. He stood there, and I think he knew. And I didn't even realize yet. Well, let me go back. I'll jump forward, and then I'll come back. The next morning, I called the gas company, and I said, can you come and check? And when they came, because if you call the gas company, they'll come right away. And he came, and he looked. And we went around, and we looked. And I said, I think what happened, I said, here's what I think. What do you think? I said, I think he turned mine off. That was almost a week and a half ago. And then he realized, and then he turned this one off. And I said, because how would he have known? They're not even marked. Why aren't they marked? They're not marked at all on which place is which. And he goes, I'll bet that's what happened. Yeah, because he goes, they aren't marked. So he marked them. So the next time I saw my landlord, well then, now let me go back. Because I know that's what happened. We figured out that's exactly what happened. And he goes, well, why? This is what he said to me when this guy was over there turning things on. He goes, well, why did you didn't use your stove for a week and a half? And he was like, yeah, he was like berating me, making fun of me. And I said, I was sick. I didn't want to eat anything. I wasn't cooking. I was sick. And at that point, I didn't know that I hadn't figured it out. It was probably him that did it. And then he goes, and you didn't take a hot shower? I said, no, it's too hot. And I said, I don't know how these got turned off. you know what he said? He goes, well, maybe somebody, I went around and asked, I go, was your gas turned off? Was your gas turned off? They said, oh, no, absolutely not. So that's when the next day when I talked to the gas guy, the Southwest Gas, we figured it out. What he did was, there's no other explanation. He literally turned off my gas, didn't bother to tell me. I could have died. And another thing too, it could have blown up. It could have just, everything, I could have died. Everything could have been ruined. Their property was ruined. So there are really bad landlords out there. Do they care about us? Most of them don't. And I know that some of you watching, I'm sorry, but some of you do own property probably. But look, you've got to take care of your people that you're getting rent from. I could have died. I was so sick. In fact, I was so sick that I've got it on my calendar and it shows up every year to remind me. When something like that happens, I like to be reminded. And if it's a big deal, I like to mark it. And then I put it in my calendar and it shows up. I put that it'll come up yearly. Yeah. So every year it comes up and it reminds me how lucky I am not to rent anymore. Yeah. Some of you probably have really good landlords or you're living in a real fancy place, but these things can happen. So if you are stuck in your vehicle and you don't want to be, and like TL says, you're miserable, or if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have to get into my place. I have to get into my van, I should say, and get out of my place. It might save your life. You never know. I've got 2 more stories I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to do it tomorrow. I will do it tomorrow. But there's stories, I'll tell you, of horror stories of living in an apartment situation. It can be very dangerous and it can be fatal. Yeah, okay, well, I'm glad you listened to my story. I'm glad you listened. I'll get some more for tomorrow. I'll get some more footage of my place here. But I just wanted to get this out. Do not fret. If it happens that you have to get in your vehicle, you'll make it. I do very well living in mine. It's not every day isn't rainbows, but for the most part, it's pretty darn cool. Okay? Okay. Hey, listen, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. I got the book, How to Live in a Minivan, The Minivan Leeway. It's on Amazon. There's the ebook and there's the paperback. It's your choice. They're not expensive. So, okay. Thanks, TL. Thanks for the letter. Thanks for encouraging all of us, and thanks for encouraging people out there. Mwah. Big kiss. Bye.